that. So I don't know if you saw the chick at the playground.
I heard something about this, but I didn't read it, so I don't know the details.
So some chick was at the playground, probably late 20s, mom with her 18-month-old kid, year and a half-year-old kid, and there was another kid that was playing at the playground, that black kid that was rifling through their diaper bag, stealing some stuff out of the diaper bag. And she turned around and threw down some not nice words to this 5-year-old kid.
Racial slur words.
Ooh. And there was someone who was at the park that caught it on video and approached her, and she responded, not backing down, and said even more insensitive things and whatever. And she started, obviously they doxed her and, really kind of put her through the ringer. And then she started some kind of fundraising thing and raised like $650,000 to relocate and defend her and whatever. So now, there's a couple of things we can discuss about this. So pick of what you just heard there. What do you want to pick first?
Well, this might be a little outside of what we're going to talk about. So I'll go with this first. The little bit of information about that story I saw was on a Facebook post. Somebody shared the article and said, this is where we're going because of you all. And the person who posted it is very liberal and was posting it, blaming anyone who voted for Trump. And to that, I'm like, this is why this is going to keep getting perpetuated. This is why anyone who truly wants to fight racism has an uphill battle, because you take something that is clearly wrong and you make it either a political argument, you blame people that are not involved in not doing it. Like, do you know what I'm saying here? It's like, why would you take something to shine a spotlight on the issue of racism and you made it about something else to push your own agenda?
Well, let's follow it. Now, first off, is this racism?
Yes.
Definitionally racism? How is it racism?
Well, I'd have to look more into exactly what happened, but definitionally racism, maybe not.
It's not definitionally racism.
Yeah. Is it rude? Is it mean? Is it condescending? Yes.
Okay.
Is it definitionally racist?
Okay, so as a society, are we trying not to be rude and condescending and saying the meanest thing that can come to your brain? If you scour the internet, you just look for 30 seconds. Is that really the path we're on, is niceness and kindness and whatever? So this is just more of what we get every day. So if I say Trump is a Nazi, that's mean, that's rude, right? And it's condescending. So is that not the same thing? And we're not talking socially, we're talking scientifically. So it's just a word, right?
Yeah.
So racism definitionally would be when you make a decision, right? Or you do something to a race because you think you are superior. You either give a person advantage based on their race, or you give somebody a disadvantage. Stereotypes and having biases are not racism, but overt actions are racism.
Yeah.
Okay?
So if the mother would have shown up to the playground, taken a look and said, ew, we're not coming to this playground because there's another race here.
Yes. That would be a decision. The decision was made based on race, and you deprived something or changed something or made a decision based on something racial. Now, I will agree what she said was really insensitive and really mean and intended to be hurtful and was the meanest thing that she could think of. And so if everybody was like, all right, let's get off this train, let's not be mean to people, let's just have a new thing where we're just going to be nice and kind and we're not going to say mean things. So if she would have come on the playground and says, ooh, look at all these poor people, right? It would have been rude, it would have been insensitive, it would have been condescending, all the same things that she said. So she picked a word, right, that has attachment, but that's a different discussion whether or not this was a racist action.
Yeah.
But the things that were connected to it, the people who are now giving her money, right, what are they cheering on? What part of that whole thing are they cheering on? Why are they supporting her?
Well, I would think they would support her because, again, maybe they see it as it's not nice what she said, but is it an example of racism? If they're like, no, then they could be like, we're so sick of calling out racism for everything. If she would have looked at the same kid and said, get out of here, you little jerk. Stop, you little whatever. Any other word, would she have been called a racist?
Okay, so I'm keep flowing this into the other topic because we're going to get back to Trump eventually when you see how this thing plays out. So, why now are people saying I'm fed up with it?
I think honestly, people. One way I could see Trump connected to everything is people saw somebody, a figurehead, out loud say that they are fed up with it, and it led other people to finally be like, I've been fed up too, but I felt like I couldn't say anything or else I'd be called a racist.
Okay, so you go back 2 years and being labeled a racist would have been career ending because every institution, societally, all across the board, if they tagged you with it, you were done for. And so if you said something, you really walked a fine line and made sure that you never said anything that even could be taken racist because there was an incredible amount of power with throwing that word at you. Okay. And you know, the whole discussion is power play. It's power dynamics within society. And that's why I wish that institutions like What's Up on the Hill over there, the people who study this stuff could really give the rest of us good data, good scientific data. But instead, they start with theorems and they support their theorems. They're just activists rather than people who are looking into it to find out how to make society better. They want to lecture you about things that they're passionate about, rather than giving you good data about how to fix things and be better at arguing and compromising and taking situations like this and using the pragmatic approach about what does it mean to us culturally.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was something that was just used by a certain side to push a point.
Right.
I think it's not probably the first time a grown-up has said something derogatory to a kid. It's not the first time there's been a playground issue. It may not even be the first time that particular woman has used that word. But it was used, it was caught, and so it was used as a way to push a narrative from one side. Okay,
so now, usually, like I said a couple years ago, that would have been game ending. She wouldn't have got a GoFundMe going or whatever she used. She would have been like ostracized by everyone. But now you see this bubbling up. Now, so the race hustlers, the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons and all of those people are going to come to the surface, right? And they're going to make their money. They're going to do their grift like they normally do by using this and casting this as a racial issue because of the word that was used. So strategy-wise, right, this girl's done for. Like, that GoFundMe is going to get killed. She's never going to get a dime of any of that money because the pressure that they're going to put to make sure that behavior isn't rewarded is immense.
Yeah, that behavior. It doesn't even matter what word she used. I got to see the video, but depending on how harshly she spoke to a child, that's not okay, regardless of who the child was or what she said. But yeah.
Well, another GoFundMe, the dude who stabbed the white kid.
Yeah.
They did a GoFundMe and they raised a bunch of money for that. So that is being sort of like the checkmate putting in play between these two issues, where if you're going to take a thing and make it racial and you're going to take a thing that make it racial, either we're going to, uniformly put these bad behaviors and not make them, give a benefit. Like bad behavior, we just rewarded it with lots of money where someone bought a new house and this lady's obviously going to get $1 million. So what's going to stop the next person from saying, it's payday time. I'm going to go down to the park. I'm going to do the same thing and I'm going to get paid.
Yeah. That's why they had to put warning labels on hot coffee, because someone is like, is coffee hot? Yeah.
Oh! Exactly.
I can get paid. Oh, yeah. What's Joe say? Joe?
Maybe her choice of words were wrong, but she has the right to defend herself and let that child know what was doing was wrong.
Yeah.
And, freedom of speech. I mean, it's a rough one because people are going to say what, they're going to say.
Yeah.
And, I think the response, like who's condemning and who's condoning that kind of behavior. So most of the stuff that I read, it was about equal. I hate the fact that she used the words that she did because it was, like I said, it was there. If you're going to express yourself, there are much better ways to express yourself.
Yeah.
A kid, I picture myself at that playground, and what's the probabilities of me using those words in that way? Zero, zero. Now, could I be mad that someone was rifling through my diaper bag? Yeah, but it was a little punk kid. It was not an adult. They probably were misbehaving, but corrective action doesn't have to be that.
Now, if the woman didn't yell at the kid, but she found the parents and said the same thing to them, same situation or different at all?
I don't think it's any different. I think we're talking on two different levels. The someone being mad and doing everything up to violence, everything that she did was legal, versus how to handle yourself in a confrontational conflict deal. I disagree with most everybody in how they manage and handle conflict. So yes, a reasonable person would have walked up to the parents and said, "Excuse me, your child just rifled through my bag. Can you correct it?" Right?
Yeah.
All right. That would have been the best strategy. But we're talking about people who do not know how to resolve conflict. And when I look at the landscape, nobody is. So I'm not surprised when somebody mismanages the way they handle things.
Yeah, because it is so interesting. If you think about it, if this woman had said anything else, and it could be equally as horrible, she might still be accused of being a bad person.
Yes.
But not a racist.
Well, she's not. It's not a racist thing. Yeah. She may be a racist, but what she did was not racist. Thing. Yeah. So I'm guided by principles. So when something happens that shouldn't happen, I go through and find out how I engineer it so it doesn't happen. So societally, we're like, yeah, you know what? We over leverage the racist deal. We throw it around too much. I'm sure there are people out there. Let's bring them in and convert them into not being racist by not having a structure of racism. But if all we do is racist things, when we spent the last 10 years with DEI and getting institutions to treat one race differently than another, we created institutional racism in the fight to fight institutional racism.
Yeah.
Like, what were we thinking? This is what that buys you. And if we want to say, okay, everybody just be colorblind. Don't treat anybody any different. There's no rules that apply to anybody different. We're going to just hit the reset button, and everything is just going to be equal. And we're going to collectively call everything out that has an unfairness to it. So, because people really don't care. Let's just say you're in a line with people, and somebody cuts the line, and they're allowed to do it. What is your feeling?
It's not good.
Okay, how do you feel then?
Feels unfair.
Okay, do you want to go
slighted? Do
you want to go grab that person and put them at the back of the line? Do you want somebody in authority to come along and say, no, you got to go?
Yeah, somebody teach them the proper way to act.
Yeah, what is the proper way to act? It's to wait in freaking line. Mm-hmm. And all of your sob story and all of your victimization and all the reasons why you don't want to be at the end of the line, I don't care. Right?
Yeah.
You had an advantage. You got there early. You got in line earlier. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't. I'm further back than you. And all the words that come out of my mouth isn't going to change the rules governing the line, which is you can have anything you want as long as you don't deprive someone else of something they want. Right?
Yeah.
So if there was a line for cupcakes and there was a line for fruit, but there's no line for fruit, and you walked up and got fruit, there would be nobody in the cupcake line that would be upset at you.
Yeah.
Why? Because you didn't deprive them of cupcakes. You got something sooner than they did, but it was a different thing, right?
Yeah.
And so the rules that govern it, everybody who's in the line that gets passed over in the line, they're not going to accept your reasons. It's going to bubble over until everybody's in line like, well, I'm not going to follow the rules either, because following the rules doesn't benefit. Breaking the rules benefits, and I don't want to do the thing. So that's why I say the racial thing bubbles over, is people are seeing the effects of the unfairness, and all the justifications worked for like 10 seconds, and now you overplayed that whole make things all things equal or equity, and it's not fair to the people who follow the rules.
Yeah, so if somebody were waiting in line for the cupcakes and someone else comes and cuts them, and let's say that someone else happens to be a different race than the person they just cut. If the person they just cut was like, you're inconsiderate, you're being selfish. Hey, how about a little self-aware here, buddy? Read the room. You're being a jerk. This isn't fair. Not racist, not racist, not racist, not racist. But when they feel the same way, and instead of saying all those things, they express themselves poorly and say, hey, you're a whatever racial slur. Is that person a racist? Are they any different than if they were to say, hey, you're being selfish and inconsiderate and you're wrong? Are they more racist if they don't say those?
It wouldn't be racist at all. Okay. It would be the meanest thing that you could think of in the moment to be mean. Right. Yeah. And it had the word
of trying to hurt them.
Yeah. So if from a scientific standpoint, it has to check boxes in order to be racist. Can you say something that a racist would say? Yes. Without it being racist? Yes.
Yeah. Maybe all racists might say this thing.
Yes.
But not everyone who says this thing is racist.
Right. Yeah. You would have to check those boxes so it doesn't automatically. And what makes it worse is that anytime that you're put in a position where you didn't get your way, you used a power that you have, which is that racist card, to use that to trump everything. Yeah. And when you do that often enough, you diminish what that thing means. So if someone was actually being racist, when you throw that card down, everybody pays attention, and now everybody is on your side. But when you throw it down, like just a couple examples happen. Have you ever been called a racist before?
I don't think so. I'm probably online for something. I don't know.
Okay, there's two examples in the last month or so that I came across, and there was these are young children, right? Who should not even know what that means, which means at home they are absorbing the victimhood from their parents. Yeah. And so there was one instance where, and I really can't reveal a whole lot because it's not my example and I don't want to, put anybody out on the line. But there was a little kid who was reprimanded for doing a thing. And the response to the kid being reprimanded was, I got in trouble because I'm black. And it couldn't have been further from the truth. Yeah. But because that was the power play at the moment, that was the one weapon that kid had to go to. And white people and anybody who's non-black have a really hard time of saying, no, it's not. And these switches flip in your brain where you're like, oh my goodness, that was the mother of all bombs that was just thrown at me. How do I defend against this? And most people would just go and shy away then from the reprimand, thinking that they just maneuvered one over you. And that is so painful to society, right? When number one, something that needs to carry some weight is devalued by its overuse every time you get yourself in a bind.
Yeah, like when I saw the person share this article on Facebook, if they had not put anything down as far as comments on it that were politically charged, I think everybody could have watched that and went, whoa, lady, that's not okay. Come on, it's a kid. We would have all been in agreement. But because you chose to push your own agenda with this, I didn't even read it. That's how I'm like, well, I know something about it, but I just went, you lost me. You lost me. I now don't even care. So this injustice you think you're fighting, you just lost because you alienated everyone that might have been in agreement with you.
That's exactly right. That's the downside to it. And if you overplay it, then you don't have any allies or friends. So let's just say black kid's going through a small town, right? And it gets pulled over. He has choices. He has to say, I was doing a wrong thing. right? And I'm just going to take my lumps like everybody else. Or I was identified as a black kid going through this town and they targeted me and I got the ticket only because I'm black. Each one of those is going to carry an attitude through that's going to either make this thing go super quick, get your ticket and move on, or it's going to be a thing where it's probably going to worsen because of what was put in your brain. So who's at fault? The person for thinking that they're a victim when everybody has basically told them that they were a victim, even if true, right?
Yeah.
Still, if every black kid thinks that he's going to get pulled over only because he's black, you've just ruined every police interaction till the end of time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like sometimes I feel like the people that are maybe extra sensitive to the idea of racism and systemic racism are sort of keeping it going.
The hustlers.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of money and power
in my children that they are probably going to be oppressed. Let me teach my grandchildren they are probably going to be oppressed. Let me teach everyone I know, hey, this oppression is a thing. And just by the way you look, you're under it. And now they grow up to that when it was like they may have never experienced that their whole life without you telling them they were going to.
But you cannot blame when something is effective as a strategy that you use it. So if it works, why would you not use it?
Yeah.
If you can get out of trouble using a term, if you can hurt an enemy using the term, is there anybody noble enough that's going to keep that card in their back pocket and not play it when they need to? Again, until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.